Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Secretary for Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labour, Marceline Melville-Jack, addresses the media.
The Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labour is charged with the responsibility of improving the social and economic lives of the people within communities. So as a result, our mission speaks to building strong families, sustainable communities, and a healthy, productive workforce. I also need to remind the listening public that our division is now a lot larger than what obtained in the past. And this was a strategic alliance to ensure that we accomplish our mission and all our goals and objectives. So the division, or should I say the department, that is the Business Development Unit, has now been added to Community Development, along with Labour, OSH, and CPEP. And I hope I'm not forgetting any. For the past 8 months, we have been focused on providing access to a few governmental services at the level of the community. We've also been engaged in vocational skills programs at the community center. We have provided training and financing for prospective entrepreneurs. We have been involved in the maintenance and upkeep of environmental community spaces, as well as the maintenance and upkeep of community centers. And our constant monitoring and evaluation of the services, the programs, and the projects that we are offering at the level of the community have led us to a few basic conclusions. We realize that what is needed within communities is a more targeted approach in the types of programs that are being offered. We also realize that there must be an intensification of our marketing strategy so we can achieve the desired outcomes, so we can reach the targeted audiences at every level. We've also learned the lesson that coming out of a vocational skills program with a certificate of participation is just not good enough. If we are to grow entrepreneurs, if we are to ensure that we build a capacity among our people, we must ensure that the certification coming out of the skills program are those that can take young people or any other prospective entrepreneur to the next level. So as a result, we have started talks, I should say, with some organizations that will assist us in ensuring that the certificates that we give to the participants are accredited. So we are firming up arrangements with MIC, YTEP, NEC, and other accredited agencies so that the programs that we offer would not just be targeted to participants' passion or the thrust that we would like to see in the community, but at the end of the day, persons accessing these programs can now come out of the program well able to create employment for themselves and others. Now, this new approach will take into consideration the national theme of changing the paradigm, putting the economy on a sustainable path through greater focus on tourism, agriculture, and entrepreneurship. As a result, we propose to engage in greater participation through collaboration with other divisions and the private sector to grow entrepreneurs, to provide training, capacity building, expositions, resources, and financial support to persons who are seriously interested in the production of indigenous businesses that can eventually attain export standards. So, Let's look at what has been achieved within the division over the past 8 months. Now, the Department of Community Development, they embarked on a program within 13 communities where they offered day programs as well as evening programs. In the past, only evening programs were offered. But because we wanted to capture those persons in communities that were unemployed, we decided to offer these programs. And I can say that even during the day, they were very well received, because these persons would be graduating in December, and we have numbers of 106 from the day programs and 460 from the evening programs. Some of the more popular programs would have been electrical installation, as well as air conditioning and refrigeration, cakes and pastries, as well as interior decoration. This department was also involved in, I should say, the production of night markets. And these night markets were held in 2 areas. One was held in the village of Palatuve. And what was instructive is that this night market was conceptualized and implemented by the villagers themselves. Coming out of the training that they received from the business development unit at the level of the community, they decided that they wanted to create an environment where the young upcoming entrepreneurs in the community will be able to showcase their skills and even put on display some of what they have learned as far as marketing was concerned. And I want to thank them for the role that they played in ensuring that this was a tremendous success. Another night market was also held in the area of Government House Road. They were also engaged in a Cool Kids camp, and this ran for 2 weeks during the July-August vacation. And at this camp, the young children did not just learn skills and crafts, but they were also involved in community service. So they were encouraged to volunteer their service within the community, and they did that in collaboration with the CPEP workers, who took them to the home of a senior citizen where they were engaged in cleanup. And I must say that they had a really good time, but what was more important is that they learned patriotism and the importance of volunteerism. From the business development unit, they would have granted, or I should say they would have distributed 33 grants over that period and 2 loans, totaling $1,135,145. They were also successful in the long-awaited opening of the Argyle Micro Enterprise Center. And as we speak, these 8 new entrepreneurs are conducting business at the center, and they are doing reasonably well. And what I must also add is that there will be continued training for these entrepreneurs to make sure that their businesses succeed. They also conducted refurbishment works at the Calder Hall and Signal Hill Micro Center. CPEP, now under this division, they were engaged in their conservation programs as well as the beautification of community sites. They have engaged 65 more senior citizens to their programs, and that is where they go in and they clean the yards of these senior citizens, ensuring that drains as well are cleared. They would also have had an appreciation ceremony. They are now 15 years in the business, and we saw where some of the workers in CPEP are now themselves successful entrepreneurs. So they were also celebrated. Now I'm going to take a very quick look at our budgetary allocations before I move on to what you can expect from our division in fiscal 2018. So, CPEP was granted funding to the tune of $8 million. And this money you may not have seen in the THA's allocation, but it was identified in the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, which means that additional funding for this program must come from the Tobago House of Assembly. As far as our recurrent expenditure was concerned, we received $49,340,000. General administration takes $16,614,000 of this allocation. Community development, $28,656,000. The Department of Labor, $1,926,000, and OSH got $2,234,000. So already it does not sound like a lot, but we are determined in our division to do more with less. Our development program received $10,500,000. Enterprise Development Loan Fund received $1,500,000. The grant program, $1 million. Community Development received $7,250,000, and the Bell Garden Community Center, $7 million. Upgrades to centers, we have $250,000 to work with. Now, you may be asking the question, how are we going to make things happen with this? And I want to say categorically that through partnerships among divisions, as well as with private citizens, the private sector, and anybody else who is willing to come on board, an FBO, you name it, we are going to be forming partnerships to ensure that some of our objectives for fiscal 2018 are realized. Now, what are some of those things that you can expect from us in 2018? I want to start with CPEP. Now, you have heard the Chief Secretary say on numerous occasions that retrenchment is not an option. But what he also pointed to is the fact that maintaining the levels of employment that we have right now depends on productivity. So what you can expect from CPEP is increased productivity. And it is going to start with an establishment of a policy document to guide the operations of CPEP. And you can expect to see that document coming out by the end of November. We must admit that CPEP has reverted from its original moorings. And one very important aspect of what was originally intended for CPEP is that there would be training, which would then lead to graduation out of the program into some kind of private enterprise. So this is one tenet that you will see in the new policy. There would be some aspects of mandatory training, and we are going to base the types of training on the passions of the persons in the program. Because you know, you tend to perform better at something that you like doing, whatever is your passion. So whether it's in landscaping, agriculture, any form of business venture, We have the capacity within the Tobago House of Assembly to ensure that these programs are off and running and that workers are trained to the point where they can now take responsibility for themselves and graduate out of the program. In addition, I must add that the BDU, now that it is under our division, is available not only to provide the seed capital for the startup of businesses, but to provide that additional training that is required. So the idea of a business incubator is critical because we want to take our existing businessmen and women to the next level, where they can not just run a business to make money, but run a sustainable practice using marketing strategies to ensure that they produce something, not just for local consumption, but also for export. So this is the direction in which we are headed. You will also see the redeployment of services within communities and among divisions. And I will give you a very pertinent example. CPEP workers will not just now be responsible for the parks that they have been maintaining and the community buildings, but now that the micro centers are under our remit, we propose saving the bill of landscaping by using our CPEP workers to maintain those centers. And this has already started, and we are seeing a passion among the workers, and this is one way of, should I say, realizing savings on our investment. We are also not averse to the idea of outsourcing services to private enterprises. Let me turn at this point to the business development unit. Now, in the medium to long term, we propose the opening of the Adventium Micro Center in Plymouth. This was we said that we would do this in fiscal 2018. We knew that there were some challenges, but in collaboration with the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, who can be used to make sure that the niggling infrastructural things are in place, we are convinced that we can get to the place where we can open the center, I would say probably around the middle of the fiscal year. We have only been granted $600,000 under the Adventium Micro Center, but we believe that the partnership will help us to ensure that this money works to our advantage and that this becomes a reality. Now, as far as the grants and loans are concerned, a more targeted approach will be taken to what activity is funded. We will now be looking at those developmental areas that we spoke about earlier, the tourism, the agriculture, and the entrepreneurship. And stringent measures will be applied to these applicants to ensure that they do not fail. Because if we want to move Tobago forward, it is important that we assist as much as we can, especially in the marketing, because we have realized that many businesses have failed because the entrepreneurs were not well trained, nor were they versed in packaging and marketing and the skills that they need to take their business enterprise to a place where we can actually export. The loan fund and the grant funding. Now, I am sure that you would have heard the Minister of Finance allude to the fact that grants will now be at the level of, or should I say, a maximum of $100,000. And I want to say categorically that our releases are not able to support a venture like that. So that is a central government venture. I told you the amount of money that we were granted so that you can understand. The loan program only has 1.5 million and the grant program 1 million. So we are going to continue along the track that we have been using so far, a maximum of 25,000 for your grants and 250,000 for the loan. But because we said at one point in time that there will be an increase to 50,000 and 500,000, we are not going to rule it out. Once there is a viable enterprise or activity that we believe deserves this kind of funding, we may be able to do at least one or two. So we are not throwing it out. If it is necessary to source additional funding to make it happen, then we are willing to do that. From the level of community development, we are, or you will see, the utilization of the 7 Y zones, or the youth spaces that have been sitting idle for some time. These zones, just to remind you, are located in Calder Hall, Mason Hall, Lansford, Speyside, Canby, Mount Pleasant, Plymouth, and Argyll. Through a partnership with the Department of Youth and the Tobago Information Technical Service, that's the Innovation Center, we have prepared a schedule as to how we will roll out these programs in communities. So without going into too much specifics, we must start with a repair program because you know when you don't use some things, you lose them. So it is necessary to go back into those communities and do an infrastructural repair program. And we are targeting the end of October for the end of this program. It then means by the end of November, we should have outfitted all 7 Y zones with the essential equipment. Then we would look at managerial staffing of these Y zones. And in the first instance, and I'm saying the first instance, we will use existing employees within the division. Then we are looking at the period from November to December for registration of participants for these programs. And the rollout, the actual rollout of these programs will begin in January 2018. So what can you look forward to? We are not pouring old wine in new bottles. We are coming with a new, fresh approach that is targeted to youth engagement. So you expect to see programs like media training, and I am saying again media training, and we are hoping that some of the persons that I'm looking at right now would be instrumental in assisting us in some of this training. We are looking at the social responsibility of using social media, communication skills, preparing for the world of work, conflict management and mediation, enhancement of skills in the workplace. So you'd get your resume writing and your interview skills. And I must add here, customer service. Because we are producing entrepreneurs and young people who can take their place in society, but we also want to ensure that the social aspects is not forgotten. And customer service to me is one of those most important ones. So these are just a few. And as we collaborate with the Department of Youth and the other agency that I told you about, we would find more creative programs that can be offered, and we will offer them at different centers so that people can do 3 to 6 months in one center in one specific program, and then you can migrate. You can go to another Y zone for another program. Okay? Building and maintenance, I'm almost done. Before the end of last fiscal, the Building and Maintenance Department was able to initiate upgrades to 5 community centers to a tune of $3,297,842. The centers that were identified, Canaan Bonaccord Phase 2, and I can say that that center, as we speak, is about 60% complete. Kudos to the contractor. And we expect it to be completed by the end of October. And we are holding faster timelines because when I spoke to the contractors on these centers, I made it very clear that we want these centers completed on time, within budget, no variation of any kind. And we also made it clear to them that to whom much is given, much is expected. So there must be some level of patriotism and volunteerism within communities. So as they receive a contract, it is only fair that they assist in some project within a community. They can select the community and the project. So this is something that we are looking into as we move forward in fiscal 2018. Right, so Mount Grace is 47% complete. They too are looking at the end of October. Bethel Community Center, because there was not much to do there compared to the previous centers, although they are 30% complete, we are also looking at the end of October. Works at Signal Hill were delayed for various reasons. So their date of completion is mid-November. The upgrades at Castara have not yet started. And even as I speak, I'm hopeful that situations will be resolved and that the contractor will be able to start within this week. But our target for Castara, which requires extensive work, is the end of December. Bell Garden Community Center was also started at the end of last fiscal. There was a sod turning ceremony on the 26th of September, and mobilization of earthworks began on the 27th of September. Their completion date, we are looking at June 2018. So, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, within the division, you can expect not a lot of new constructions because we've done that. What you can expect from us is utilization of these facilities, efficiency, and productivity. In conclusion, it is critical to note that we need to work together to accomplish the paradigm shift that is required at this time. If we don't swim together, we will ultimately sink separately. So the time has come for all hands to be on deck, and we are all to become active participants in the change process. The concept of partnerships is very relevant. The Tobago House of Assembly cannot single-handedly develop this island while maintaining the levels of employment that currently exist. The question of increased productivity, therefore, must be high on our agenda.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending October 14th, 2017.